Greetings once again, all. Welcome to the Alaska Bigfoot Studies. Well, I'm just less than a week away from my first expedition of the year. Very excited. I'm going to be joined by Beans and Rob. We're getting the band back together and we're doing a really fun expedition to kick the Alaskan summer off. But we had an interesting discussion recently on whether there are different kinds of subspecies of Sasquatch. And I have some thoughts related to that, but first let's hear from Rob and Beans. All right, I'm here at the Bigfoot Art Gallery in Palmer, Alaska with Rob Roy Menzies.
Yay!
Always love coming out here. It's looking good out here too.
Love having you out here.
Yeah. So we've got some trips planned, but I had a couple topics I wanted to ask you about. The first one is we get reports of orangutan, orange-haired looking Bigfoot. Do you think there's different breeds or races of Bigfoot?
Oh gosh, that's a great subject. Yeah, I think it's possible that there are different types depending on their environment they're in. Mm-hmm. Much like bears, your grizzly bears and your Alaska brown bears, which are I guess the same bear, but the grizzly bears are smaller.
Right.
Because they live inland.
Yep.
And they don't get as much like fish, like the Alaska brown bear gets a lot of fish, so they get bigger. I kind of think there must be something going on with the Sasquatches too, especially in different environments where the descriptions are given. Some seem more ape-like, some seem more human. The Florida skunk ape. They call it ape for a reason. It seems more ape-like.
Shorter.
And shorter, smaller. The ones here in Alaska supposedly are bigger, which I wonder if it's pretty much because of the environment they're in.
Yeah.
Certain individuals adapt to different environments, and over the decades and generations of producing, and they all kind of morph into, maybe some have different colored hair.
Right.
Maybe some demeanors are nicer, some are meaner.
Have you heard of any white-haired Yeti-like ones, like you got on the wall there, like in
Yeah,
the Yeti areas?
not very often, but I have. Not in. I want to say not in Alaska.
Okay.
There's the famous Don Keaton story out of, I think it was Ohio.
Okay.
And he's got that on video. It's an old VHS classic, kind of blurry,
Nice.
along I think it was a lake or a pond or something, but this thing came out of the tree line. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that marks one of the first white Bigfoot sightings that I can remember.
Okay.
And I guess it makes sense. We get old, our hair turns white.
Oh, right. Older.
Yeah, or even myself, my hair kind of started turning silver. Started right here, probably in my early 30s.
Okay.
I mean, early on. And it just spread into everywhere now, of course.
So you think it was like that over an albino or maybe a camouflage?
It could have been either, but I think that when they get old, I think they probably do show signs of being gray and maybe more wrinkly.
Okay.
Maybe their posture's a little more stiff, just like we are,
Yeah, I remember you told me once in Alaska, all of the reports, or the majority of the reports you've got, it was like really dark black hair.
Yeah, really dark black, like flat black.
Versus the brown that sometimes we hear
Versus
about.
brown, and I've heard brown, reddish brown.
Okay.
More recently in Area A, a stump. And I think I told you that story.
Right,
Stump. A gentleman saw what he thought was a strange looking stump. Mm-hmm. He looked at it. He said he looked at it for over a minute. And his friend said something to him. He looked to his friend, said something to his friend. He looked back down there, and the stump was gone. And I was like, "Oh my God, what?" Because this sounds a lot like other stories I've heard.
Right.
When I asked him what color was the stump, he said it was like a reddish brown.
Interesting.
Which is different from the usual kind of green moss covered stumps that you're used to seeing out there.
Right.
But interesting. So it's not unusual. I want to say I probably heard a little bit of everything around here.
Yeah.
From dark brown to reddish brown to black.
But the majority has been kind of a very dark black.
You know, it seems kind of, I would say that. It's hard to say. I've never written a chart down, an Excel spreadsheet, but
Right.
it does seem like a lot of them are black.
Okay.
And I don't know if maybe it's because of the nightfall. They just look darker.
Right.
But yeah, that seems to be the majority of them are black. So, but I do think I suspect there's kind of different kinds or different demeanors in different environments. Mm-hmm. You know, how much food they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would think that the ones here would be pretty happy.
Yeah.
Because there's so much food.
And they're usually pretty big up here.
That's what they say. That makes sense. I don't know about them being angry, though, or meaner.
Right.
Or all the Bigfoots are meaner up here. And I thought, well, I don't know. I would think maybe they're a little more mellow because they've got plenty of food.
Yeah.
They got plenty of room. Mm-hmm. You know, out in Area A's case, nobody's ever suffered any kind of attack or.
Right.
Now there's been rocks been thrown. There's been pine cones been thrown into the fire.
Right.
You know, not to the fire, but around the fire pit. But those are little rocks.
Right.
Just kind of gently tossed into the area, not hitting anybody.
Right.
I don't know. You would think if they were mean and dangerous, they would have done something a little more risky, dangerous by now. But
big old softball size rock.
yeah, something. I mean, you know, throw a log at one of us or something. You know, something. Yeah. But no, it's never. Okay. Nothing dangerous has ever happened. Thank God, not yet. Anyway. Knock on wood, but anyway, that's my thought on that.
Interesting. So everybody, check out the Bigfoot Art Gallery on Facebook, and you can even order some of his Bigfoot prints.
Yes, you can. You can call us up. We'll answer the phone if we're open. Well, summer's coming up though.
Yeah, it's going to be busy.
It's going to be It's going to be nice too. The weather, you know, we might have to, you know, escape a few times and go squatching.
Oh, so, we will. You know, we've got it planned already.
But that's a good sign to have on gone squatching. Is always a good excuse to leave. So
absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's a wonderful, wonderful story. You all need to come in.
Yep, Palmer, Alaska.
So one of the subjects that comes up quite a bit when talking about Bigfoot is, are there different races or subspecies of Bigfoot? And in my opinion, I think that there probably are, just due to the fact that North America is so large, you're bound to have some geographic isolation throughout the continent that has probably led to some Bigfoot developing, you know, different, maybe even physical appearances than Bigfoot that live in another part of the country. For example, you know, the Bigfoot here in Alaska, they're probably very well adapted at dealing with the cold. Maybe that's more insulation on their bodies, thicker fur, something like that. And Bigfoot that are located further south, like say the skunk apes in Florida, probably not so well adapted to the cold. Probably don't have as much insulation on their body or as thick fur as maybe the Alaskan Bigfoots do. Now, I don't know that that would qualify them to be another race, but probably a different species, a subspecies of Bigfoot. But you know what? It's all theory and speculation until we get a type specimen and can actually look at it, look at the DNA and compare it to other type specimens that hopefully we'll one day find.
Well, there you have it. I really think that just like in the great ape kingdom, you've got chimps, gorillas, mountain gorillas, silverback, orangutans, things like that. I believe that we see that in the Bigfoot family itself. Now, what's interesting is I believe personally that the Bigfoot is more or less similar to gorillas versus a chimp, and we're lucky that there's not a whole lot of the chimp Bigfoots, because the chimpanzee is one of the most violent, aggressive, just awful creature. It's been known to create warfare among tribes, and they torture each other, they eat, you know, the gorilla mainly eats plants, the chimps eat other monkeys, and they cannibalize each other. And there's just some of those awful stories of the lady that was somewhere around Connecticut, but her friend came over and the chimp just like ripped her friend's face off and just disfigured her. And there's been lots of stories where they'll rip appendages off and rip your genitals off and fingers and bite your toes off, rip faces off. They are pretty nasty. Now, a gorilla pretty much only gets angry and aggressive if you get too close to it, make eye contact with it, or come around the young ones. Then they could hurt you, but it's not as vicious, or they're not ripping appendages off and ripping faces off like those chimps. Now, I do believe that there may be some of these chimp-like Bigfoot, especially it's kind of in the area where we're going to be going to next week, where these shorter, mean, nasty Bigfoot were spotted, because we do have, you know, almost orangutan looking Bigfoot that are spotted with the orange hair. Typically in Alaska, it's the very large, very black-haired Bigfoot that's usually spotted. To me, I think that that's sort of the gorilla part of the family, but where we're going, we may see the chimp part of the family. That could be a bad thing. So let me know what you guys think. I'm excited to be rolling out these videos all summer long, every Sunday. Tune in for your Chuke Sunday morning cartoon Bigfoot goodness. Shout out to Jomo and the kids. Thanks for all my supporters, and we'll see you next Sunday.